to the case of Robel Phillipos. He's the friend of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, who was recently sentenced to 3 years in prison for lying to the FBI about going into Tsarnaev's dorm room after the marathon bombings. Joining me now are his two lawyers, Susan Church and Derege Demissie. Good to see you both. We should be clear to people, he was not charged with trying to get rid of incriminating evidence, obviously knew nothing about the bombing in advance, it's just lying to FBI agents. Right. He faced 16 years, Susan. You guys wanted probation. Why is 3 years not an appropriate compromise on the part of the judge?
Well, it's an interesting question because the judge indicated that part of his reasoning was deterrence, to send a message. Mm-hmm. And we argued that jail time was not appropriate to send a message. Just the simple fact that this young man was charged, his college life was interrupted, his family was distraught, that he was making national headlines, that was enough to send a message to any college student that, you know, if you're speaking to the FBI, you should probably speak with a lawyer first. That's the message that got sent, not the message of...
One of the people who wanted a stiff sentence was the stepfather of Sean Collier, the MIT police officer, was killed. His contention is if your client had done the right thing and called the FBI and told them truthfully what he knew, Sean Collier might be alive. How do you respond to that?
Actually, that was a very unfortunate move on the part of the U.S. Attorney's Office to put that even before the court.
Why?
The judge actually asked, in the other sentencing hearing, the judge asked the prosecutor if she was intimating or asserting that somehow the defendant was responsible for the death of Officer Collier, and she clearly stated to the judge that was not the government's position. Numerous people, several students, teachers, neighbors saw those first pictures and did not call the police because they didn't believe it. And it's clear from all the trial record, everyone who testified, no one believed it initially.
You know, there's a huge list, you know better than anybody, of people, including the former governor, Michael Dukakis, who spoke to the character of your client, a young man. Why did he not speak at the sentencing hearing, Susan? Why didn't he stand up and tell his own story?
Well, he did write a letter. And
I understand that.
He wrote a letter because there really is not time for live witnesses in a federal sentencing hearing.
He could have done it.
It would be very unique and rare, and it would be very unusual. It's just not common to call witnesses in a federal sentencing hearing. And if you tried to do that, you might get a backlash. Well, this kid thinks he's going to get away with this because he knows the governor, and that has an unfortunate side effect in and of itself.
How is he? I mean, he's still a young man. Obviously, this happened a couple of years ago. He has to surrender, I think, in late July, 24th, 25th, whatever it is. How is he doing? He's an only child of a mother who people rave about in a positive way, the mother. How's this young man doing?
This has been a harrowing experience for him from the beginning. If you can imagine yourself being 19 and being arrested by people in SWAT team uniform and being taken to a federal court with helicopters following you and being charged in connection with the worst atrocity committed in the city of
Horrible,
Boston.
but he did lie. I mean, he did lie to the FBI. That's what the jury found in this case, yes?
The government charged a number of misrepresentations. The jury rejected a number of them, found that he made a misrepresentation when he said he did not remember being in Tsarnaev's room. But that was something we contested. We accept, obviously, the jury's decision. That's their decision.
But there are a number of criminal defense lawyers in this jurisdiction who think that Carmen Ortiz, the U.S. attorney in this case and many others, overcharges in a lot of cases. Are you amongst them, Susan?
Absolutely, and I said that at the press conference. I think this is going to be a case that we look back on 2-3 years now, and we're going to talk about the FBI, how they treated this young man, how he should have spoken to a lawyer from the beginning, as many people of higher means, of higher sophistication would have done, and he wouldn't be in this situation right now. It doesn't help the victims of the bombing to take this young man's life, this promising young man's life, and ruin it over really was an incident which, in his mind, he was trying to help.
You only have 30 seconds.
I just want to add,
yes, quickly.
This is a kid who called the FBI when they were running late to meet him. Yeah. He met with them several times. He told them everything he knew. But
he lied to them, according to a jury. I mean, that's fact can't be disputed.
Even if you accept that he lied about being in the room, there was no cover-up on his part. He was not part of any criminal act.
One last question. You have an appeal pending, correct? Is this
Yes.
on the jury's original finding of guilt, or is it on sentencing, or both?
Both. It'll include both.
But he will go to jail pending appeal. Is that
We
correct?
have not decided whether we're going to seek a stay with the appeals court, which is an available avenue.
Susan, before you go, 15 seconds. What's the moral of the story? Is there a takeaway? Is there a moral here?
I believe you absolutely have to call a lawyer if you're approached by the FBI, because the FBI sent the message that you won't be treated fairly, you won't be treated lightly, you will be treated, in this case, what I think is abusive, the way they treat this young man.
Susan, thank you so
very
much. Derege, good to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.